or they belong to any other political party or they do not. So what Geza and those that believed in his call did is within their rights. However, we also fully acknowledge that it is an internal fight, and as UZA, we did not participate in that internal fight. We are not going to be used as pawns as what happened in 2017 to usher in a different face for ZANU-PF. It does not matter who is the face of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is going to remain the same.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. They talk about what Africans say about Africa.
23 minutes past 2 p.m. Central African Time. We are currently in conversation with Gerrit Lanning, CEO of Community Keepers. Now, Community Keepers is a pioneering mental health non-profit working in nearly 90 schools across the country. They just released its 2024 impact report, and it paints a rather sobering picture, but also an inspiring one. Gerrit, let's talk about the program, Community Keepers. What is it that you are doing? And I understand that you incorporate a bit of laughter into your initiative and your offering, as well, as Nompumelelo mentioned earlier.
Indeed, we are, Tebogo. So yes, Community Keepers, we focus on mental health or mental well-being. And I think probably the easiest way to speak about it without being too technical is to say that we work with whoever we work with their levels of okayness. And I think that's something that all of us can resonate with. We know pretty much in the same way as when we are physically ill. We know when we're running a fever, we know when something is broken, and much in the same way, we know when we're not okay. And we essentially are saying that, especially in the communities that we work in, which are predominantly low-income communities, lower quintile schools, learners unfortunately do not have access to services or to that literally the listening ear, who are there to support them, to guide them through whatever crisis, whatever challenge they've got. And I think even more importantly for us is that we do not only focus on when there is already a challenge or when there is already a problem. We actually hold on to what the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu said. He said we need to go upstream and find out why people are falling into the river. And in that way, our programs are built also on preventative approaches where we literally build into the daily rhythms of the school, opportunities for learners to, in a group work context, actually get to know themselves, get to know, or get a better understanding of certain topical issues that are really prevalent to them, and kind of be in a position to make their own meaningful choices around life and around the world around them.
Gerrit, I'd like you to just, give us specific examples of the play intervention in particular that you have implemented in some of the schools and the results that emanate from them as well.
Yes, so in each of our schools, we have got dedicated rooms, therapy rooms, but they pretty much are meant to be spaces where people can be just themselves. And in those spaces, we've got numerous, tools, but ultimately they include stuff like toys. They include boxing bags. They include also a sand tray that is pretty standard in our work. And what we essentially do is we use all of those tools for learners to be able to, in a very playful way, take away the seriousness and the kind of the stuck-upness in a sense that are often associated with therapy, and to make it rather a process of growth, a process of exploration. And in that way, therapy and mental health gets destigmatized. And we know that using play therapy approaches is actually highly beneficial when we use them for learners specifically. When we work with our educators, it's a little bit of a different approach because we predominantly do not in groups work with them in a therapeutic context, but more in a preventative, proactive way. And yes, and what we actually are trying to get to with the educators is what is called the inner child. So each of us, no matter how old we are or how young we are, we've got the remnant of this child in our lives. And sometimes when we think about our inner child, it is a child that got hurt, but very often it's also a child that actually holds on to the child aspects of our lives where we still could laugh and still could hope and still could look forward to life as having meaning and having possibility. And
Sure.
what we're trying to do is we literally refine and re-establish with that part of ourselves that have lost that ability in some ways. Because we live in a country, we live in a world, we live in a world, a zeitgeist, thinking of time, where a lot of people have become extremely bleak, extremely negative, and we're saying yes, it's all
Yeah.
true. We don't ignore it. We're just saying that in some way you can transcend it when you connect again to that inner child.
Khaled, for schools, perhaps parents or educators themselves looking to get in touch with you and want your service and your programs for their educators, for their students, how do they go about getting in touch with you?
Oh, now you're talking. We so wish, and it is part of our dream, to be part in every single school. We believe that there should be a community keepers presence in every single school, and it's only 23,000 schools, so it's not that big a dream. It's possible, I think.
Wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
so at Tebogo, you have to dream big. You have to dream big. But yeah,
Absolutely.
so ultimately, we have got a very active website. So schools and any interested parties are quite welcome to express their interest to get involved with us through the website, where you will essentially be put on a database, and when and if funding becomes available, because that always is the downside of the work that we do. We need to fundraise in order for this to work. But yes, then we love to onboard as many schools as we can. We also have got a very, very active social media, and I know my social media people are going to be very excited that I even remembered to mention it, because I'm very bad on it, but we're
Yeah.
good on it. So we will react. We love to connect to people, and even though, or even if we cannot be like a permanent presence or an immediate presence, we often can help educators, schools with some resources. We can help with sometimes even with components of training, and we've got various ideas around how we can also make an impact while not necessarily be there 24/7.
Sure. Gerrit, I can't, just congratulate you enough on this initiative. I think it is fantastic, and you are really heeding Desmond Tutu's call to go out to the peripheries, because we do forget about educators and just the challenges that they have to face on a day-to-day. So thank you really for this intervention. And if you can just give us your social media or email address one more time for those who do want to get in touch.
Yeah, so email address is communitykeepers, or www.communitykeepers.org. And our social media are always linked to Community Keepers, in the plural.
All right. All right, that
Amazing.
is Gerrit Lanning there, and he is the CEO of Community
Community
Keepers.
keepers.
When they say, take me to the alley, this is the kind of work that they are talking about. It's 31 minutes after 2 Central African time. Let's get some sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We kick off with football news. Former Bafana Bafana captain Lucas Radebe believes both Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns will win the second legs of the CAF Champions League semi-final on Friday in Egypt and reach the final of Africa's elite club football competition. Radebe, who played football at the highest level and was captain of English Premiership side Leeds United, says both teams have a better chance of winning in Cairo against Al Ahly and Pyramids FC. The football legend says keeping clean sheets in the first legs of their semi-final ties gives the two South African clubs an advantage in the second legs. He added that it's Egyptian clubs who will be under pressure, while just a single goal by South African clubs will make it even more difficult for the hosts.
I think for me they stand a good chance, of getting to the final because of the pressure that the other teams has, and they can use that and the players believing in themselves. But they've got nothing to lose. They've achieved well to get to thus far and to take those both teams to Egypt, with a clean sheet. As long as they know themselves, they believe in themselves, surely they will come back, victorious.
The two South African teams have relatively done well in the competition, especially Pirates beating Al Ahly, CR Belouizdad and MC Alger away. Downs have done well over Al Ahly in recent years and will want to continue their dominance over the Egyptian club. Radebe says both South African teams can reach the final, which will be great for the country.
Take advantage of that and try and at least, one of the teams, can get to the final or both of them. You never know, I mean, the boys I know, they're very confident. Sundowns has been there before. They know what needs to happen in order to get to the finals and to lift that trophy. They know what's needed. And Orlando Pirates, I think they need a second star, on the jersey. And I believe that they boys believe in themselves that they can go out there and cause a big upset.
In hockey news, both Namibia's men and women's under-21 hockey teams are currently second on the log at the Junior Africa Cup in Windhoek and will place to qualify for the Junior World Cup later this year. The top three and women's teams will qualify for the 2025 Junior World Cup, with the men to play in Chennai and Madurai in India in November, while the women will compete in Santiago in Chile in December. In the men's category, South Africa are the hot favorites to win the Africa title after winning their opening 4 matches in style, scoring 32 goals and conceding only 4. On to rugby news, the Hollywood Bets Sharks achieved the first part of their Vodacom United Rugby Championship Tour objective when they scraped to a narrow win over the Edinburgh, but their job is only half done and they face an arguably tougher obstacle in their final game. Saturday's evening clash with Ulster at the Kingspan Stadium in Ravenhill will be the Sharks' last away game of the league phase of the URC season. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. The Midnight Snack. Every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege.
That is just me trying to imagine myself as a backup singer for Zonke because her music is just beautiful. As the song was playing, I was just, moving like a backup singer. You know how they are. They with their hands, being so dramatic and, putting that spice into the song. So the song is called Say Now and we love it here on the Midnight Snack. I hope you also love it.
Let's talk love, intimacy, and relationships on the Midnight Snack with Chanduko Ligege. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside. Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good afternoon, I'm Nosipozo in your business news this hour. The economy freedom fighters say the EFF has called on South Africa's parliament to withdraw the 2025 fiscal framework and revenue proposals adopted nearly 4 weeks ago. The party is also calling for the resignation of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. This follows an announcement by the Finance Ministry that the 0.5 percentage point VAT increase would be rescinded. The party joined the DA in a Western Cape High Court application to interdict the VAT increase, arguing that the adoption of the budget was done via deceitful and unprocedural means. EFF spokesperson and MP Sinao Tambo explains their position.
We call for the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces to convene and adopt resolutions to withdraw the adopted 2025 fiscal framework and revenue proposals on the basis that they were adopted following an unprocedural meeting which approved the reports. The EFF will consider the written out-of-court settlement proposed by the Minister of Finance. However, we maintain that without a full withdrawal of the budget process, whatever follows remains illegal and unconstitutional.
The Umkhonto we Sizwe Party in South Africa has also welcomed the reversal of the 0.5 percentage point VAT increase, but says there is a failure to alternatives to the hike because of the country's leaders. The MK party spokesperson Tlamulo Ndlela explains.
We've always said that we're led by lazy thinkers in this cabinet because there's many other solutions that we have even proposed as Umkhonto we Sizwe. Firstly, one of the examples is that you double infrastructure investment from 5% to 10%. That brings about activity in the economy, job creation, and by virtue of that, it creates a momentum for small business creation. That alone will then increase growth in the GDP in this country. Simple.
Tanzania has banned the entry of all agricultural imports from Malawi and South Africa in response to what it sees as restrictions on some of its exports. South Africa has for years prohibited the entry of bananas from Tanzania. Malawi last month temporarily blocked imports of flour, rice, ginger, bananas and maize from its northern neighbor. Confirming the import ban, Tanzania's Agriculture Minister Hussein Bashe said that they are taking the step to protect the country's business interest. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the trade issues have so far failed, but Bashe said fresh talks were ongoing. Lecturer and a business consultant Dr. Alex Kamau says Kenyan President William Ruto's 4-day state visit to China may impact the country's relations with the U.S. His comments come as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio abruptly cancelled his trip to Nairobi as well as Addis Ababa. Kamau says the trade balance between Kenya and the U.S. may be impacted if Kenya takes a pro-China stance.
There are likely to be consequences for the choice that Kenya has taken, because when Trump was actually implementing the reciprocal tariff, it was about those countries that are not giving more business to US, and it was about how much is US exporting to you as a country vis-a-vis how much are we importing as US from that other country. If Kenya is more pro-China, it means that instead of buying so much from US, it will be buying so much from China, and that will adversely affect the trade balance between the two countries.
And finally, a global watchdog has warned that the risks facing the world's energy supplies have increased. The head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol, will join the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the head of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, for a conference on energy security. The BBC's Justin Rowlett has the details.
The wars in Europe and the Middle East, the world's increasingly extreme weather, the policies of Donald Trump and the attacks on undersea cables all threaten energy supplies, says the head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol. He warns the risks have risen significantly in recent years. Mr. Birol says countries should diversify their energy supplies. Instead, they are becoming more confrontational and increasingly reliant on fewer sources of energy, he says.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 607. In Botswana, it's 13.59. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shillings 65, and in Zambia, it's 28 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 71. Russia is 82 rubles 51. India is 85 rupees 40. China it's 71.29, and in South Africa, $1 is trading at 18 rand 59. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,338 and platinum at $974 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.57 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom at channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration, innovation, and untold stories from across Africa. With Nompumelelo and Tebogo.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your taxpayer breakfast? How is your taxpayer automobile? You know you drive it.
but it's a brilliant toy. We can't listen. We are out. We are broadcasting live from Ford's SEO Technical Training Facility in Silverton, Pretoria, South Africa, and that's because Ford has partnered up with Neil Woolridge Motorsport, NWM,
as well as BP,
and Castrol to power them up at this year's 2025 Off-Rally Championship in South Africa, which is going to be absolutely amazing. We saw the car, and like Nompumelelo mentioned, it does look like a toy.
But also a dangerous toy.
I was about to say powerful.
Yeah, because it's also got that, in movies, when it's Armageddon, and everybody takes out their cars, their armored cars, and
exactly that.
It's giving that vibe.
Exactly that. But that also means, did you see how low it was also? Low center of gravity. That means that those bumps and hills that it will have to traverse.
Feel those.
I mean, they will feel it, but not as much. It will keep the car moving quickly. It will move very quickly. And
Lance
I'm
did say
championing
that
this
in
one,
the first hour that they have to get the car moving as fast as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, and because it weighs so much, the weight adds more time, and it's a competition. Remember, so fastest person wins. But because of the weight of the car, it does slow it down a little bit.
So can you imagine those suspensions? They have to take
I have
on
no
quite
idea what
a
a
bit.
suspension is.
The suspension is what ensures that the car, even when it goes through a little bit of a bump, it does not also go up. So it maintains and stabilizes. Oh, your car,
I'm up in the
does
sky.
that. Well, you must check out your suspensions. Like that's not a good thing.
Oh, really?
No, you must go check them
But
out.
I'm not driving an off-road beast.
Oh, even so, have you seen the not just the speed humps? Have you seen the potholes in Johannesburg? You need you to have those suspensions
I'm gonna
checked.
get my suspensions checked.
All right, good.
I'm gonna get my suspensions.
Anyway, it's now 10 minutes before 3 p.m. Central African Time. Stream us live on www.channelafrica.co.za. And if you'd like to see our faces, actually, you might not be able to see us now.
No.
But you will be able to see the next show, Ngubeni.
That's right, Joel Moteba.
Right, and you can do that by going on social media. Like and follow on social media at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside, and also send through your WhatsApps. Are you excited about this year's 2025 Off-Rally Championship in South Africa? What do you think of this partnership? Ford, NWM, Castrol and BP. Plus 2763 406 9126 is the WhatsApp line.
It is now what time for what caught your eye? Yeah, so what did catch your eye?
So this past weekend was Easter weekend, right?
Was it this past weekend?
It was, yes.
It feels like forever ago.
My goodness me, yeah. This past weekend was Easter weekend, and the Rand Easter show was on. A few people got stuck on one of the rides.
Look, what is it now? Because we didn't have load shedding. Tebogo. What was the reason?
One of those technical glitches, right? But the thing the video went viral. Someone took a video of it. They were suspended up in the air, stuck, and luckily they were not upside down. You know how some rides will tilt you upside down? No, they were suspended properly. They were comfortable. The comments that came in were mostly how calm these people were during that entire situation. I don't know how calm I would be if I were to be suspended and stuck on an amusement ride.
But it is the Rand show.
Yes.
It is marketed for kids. It is geared for children.
Yes.
So I would imagine that this is not an anaconda.
It's not an extreme Tower of Terror.
So that would kind of explain why they were so calm.
Yeah.
Number two, they probably had reassurance from those operating the machinery to say, we'll get it sorted, just relax, blah, blah. Because when you do get on those rides, you sign some kind of indemnity form.
Oh, you have to,
to say that you know exactly what you're to. Should anything go wrong, they will not take responsibility for it. So, also, should you fall, they can't take responsibility for it.
How safe are yes, it was the Rand show, or Rand Easter show.
Yeah.
But how safe are these amusement parks is then the bigger question. When you do go there, do you feel safe? Do you trust the rides? Or do you just go there with your adrenaline? I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy the rides. Do you even think about the possibility of it being stuck? And when you do get stuck, how are you going to react? We'd love to hear from you. Check us out on our social media platform.
Yeah, okay.
You know what? Otherwise, you're going to end up saying other things. What caught your eye?
No. I was actually going to talk about during COVID, load shedding times, that it one would think twice about it. But for now, I think one would be good.
Okay.
Also, you just don't want to get a headache. Stay away from those things, unless if it's a merry-go-round or a teapot.
Oh, no, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so trust me, I'll be
Anaconda
number one. Tower of Terror.
Okay, so, what caught my eye is do we have a budget speech? Do we not have a budget speech? Is there going to be a 0.5% VAT increase
is this
or
still
not?
being delayed? Is this another...
No.
What's happening?
My goodness. So at midnight this morning, Treasury decided, you know what? I think we're going to bungle under this pressure that we've been receiving from the DA, the EFF, all the court cases, plus the parties in the GNU that are saying that is not a good idea for ordinary South Africans. And they said in the statement, scrap it. It's a U-turn. We're not doing this thing.
What are they scrapping? The increase?
Yeah, the 0.5% VAT increase.
That's officially now.
It is officially
scrapped.
off the cards. How do you feel about that?
Well, elated. Because, my goodness me, a 0.5 increase doesn't sound like a lot. But what impact will this have had on your grocery bill, on petrol, anything else? The living expenses would have increased drastically. We already have inflation that we're dealing with. We didn't need this. So elated that they were able to scrap it. But now I'm wondering, what else can government scrap if we come together and put enough pressure on them? Maybe taxes, we could go there?
Well, no, it's not going to happen, because what's going to happen, Tebogo, is that Treasury is going to have to be a little bit more creative about how they make up that 75 billion rand shortfall that we are going to have as a result of this 0.5% VAT increase.
It's going to come out somewhere.
But also, why is everybody taking the credit for this U-turn? It is the smaller parties. It is the DA and EFF saying, had we not gone to court. But I think the biggest winners are the South Africans who voted for a multi-party government. Let us know what you think. Who is the biggest winner out of all of this?
I'll tell you what's probably going to increase. You know your love affair for tea. They're going to put
tea is zero rated. It's a zero rated. I hope so.
They're going to start.
No, don't give them funny ideas.
They're going to start with your tea.
It's harmless.
Because they know everyone, they love tea. I don't know for what reason, but they love tea. Yours going to increase.
I need a cup. Speaking of which, I need a cuppa right now while we go to music, no? Are you going to hustle for me? Because I don't know if they're serving tea. I didn't see the tea being served. I don't know why you guys discriminate against tea lovers.
I prefer, one of those shops, I'm not going to name them. They sell a butterscotch steamer. Delicious.
No, it's
I'm
sweet.
craving that.
Too sweet.
Well, yeah. I've got a sweet. All right. Maybe I'll do your green tea just for once.
Okay.
It's more like that drink that a certain... Let me not go there.
While I try to convert Tebogo into a Ceylon or bergamot tea lover.
Bergamot?
Yeah.
Now you're just making up things.
I'm going to Google it for you while I try to convert him into a tea lover. You get some music and take it easy. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Join Tebogo and Nompumelelo on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
I've been there so far, they also for.
are enjoying ourselves out here at Ford's SEO and Technical Training Center in Silverton, Pretoria. Collaboration between Ford, NWM, BP and Castrol for this year's 2025 Off-Rally Championship. For now, though, let's find out what's happening with the latest in news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. Good afternoon. I'm Cholani Tulongwebe. Benin's government revises number of soldiers killed in attack, and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa confirms a phone call with US President Donald Trump. Benin's government has admitted that 54 soldiers were killed by suspected jihadists in the country's north last week near the borders with Burkina Faso and Niger. The authorities had previously said that only 8 soldiers were killed. The revised figure makes it the deadliest known attack since insurgents began operating in northern Benin at the beginning of the decade. The attack has been claimed by an al-Qaeda-linked group, Jama al-Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin Jinim, which is based in Mali but has in recent years expanded its operations to neighbouring countries. Some political parties in South Africa have poured cold water on the Democratic Alliance, or DA party's assertion it was victorious in securing the removal of the 0.5 percentage point VAT increase. Earlier, the African National Congress, Inkatha Freedom Party, Action SA, Pan-Africanist Congress, Rise Mzansi, Bosa, United Democratic Movement, Good Party, Al-Jama, Patriotic Alliance and the National Coloured Congress held a joint media briefing on their discussions to resolve the fiscal framework in Sandton and Johannesburg. The parties claimed that the DA was outside of the discussion process. PA Deputy President Kenny Kunene says the DA had ulterior motives.
So the DA was going to vote for VAT increase had the ANC and the GNU parties agreed to be extorted by them. So when the extortionists could not get their way, they ran to the courts. So the DA has no moral authority to claim victory for the removal of the VAT increase.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed a phone call with US President Donald Trump this morning, focusing on the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict and efforts towards peace. Speaking from the Union Buildings in Pretoria during a working visit by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ramaphosa also hinted at an upcoming meeting with Trump.
I had an opportunity to speak to President Trump yesterday, or this morning rather, to discuss the peace process in Ukraine. We both agreed that the war should be brought to an end as soon as possible to prevent further death and destruction. President Trump and I also agreed to meet soon to address the various other matters regarding our relations between South Africa and the United States. We both spoke about the need to foster good relations between our two countries.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has meanwhile cancelled part of his first visit to South Africa after an overnight Russian missile and drone attack on Ukraine's capital Kyiv. At least 9 people were killed and more than 80 injured, including children in the attack. In a post on X, Zelensky said he would return to Ukraine immediately after meeting his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa as part of his trip to ramp up diplomatic efforts. He says that rescue operations were ongoing following the overnight attack and there was no significant destruction. 9 suspects, including 2 Border Management Authority officials, are appearing at the Musina Magistrates Court in South Africa's Limpopo province on charges of corruption. The 2 officials and 2 suspected facilitators were arrested with 5 undocumented immigrants on Tuesday at the Beitbridge border post. BMA Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Communication, Mim Mokgotsi, says the 2 officials were seen engaging with 2 suspected facilitators. A taxi carrying travellers was allowed to pass through after the officials allegedly received a bribe. Mokgotsi says the vehicles were intercepted and was found to be carrying 18 travellers, 5 of whom were undocumented.
In a concerted effort to root out corruption and strengthen the integrity of South Africa's ports of entry operations, the Border Management Authority conducted a successful intelligence-driven operations at the Beit Bridge port of entry during the Easter period. The operation led to the arrest of 2 immigration officials, 5 undocumented foreign nationals, 2 suspected facilitators involved in the alleged unlawful entry of persons into the Republic and contravention of the Immigration Act.
Recapping the top story this hour, Benin's government has admitted that 54 soldiers were killed by suspected jihadists in the country's north last week near the borders with Burkina Faso and Niger. The authorities had previously said that only 8 soldiers were killed. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
All right, 7 minutes after 3 Central African time, third and final hour of the Upside from us. And we are out here in Pretoria, Silverton, Pretoria, broadcasting live from Ford's Service Engineering Operations and Technical Training Center, where the Neil Woodridge Motorsport, Ford, Castrol, as well as BP are launching this very exciting initiative, and that is looking at the Rally Raid Championship, and it is one that will be taking place out in Sun City in next month. So you want to rev yourself up.
Up.
Yeah, for that one. I'm really trying here with
Change
the
gears.
moto sport.
Change gears, become transitional.
There we go. Rev yourself up for that event that will be happening out in Sun City next month, and it is the South African Rally Raid Championship in conjunction with the Neil Woodridge Motorsport. Now, head on over to our social media platforms if you want to see exactly what it is like out here in Pretoria. On our TikTok page, on our X, as well as Instagram, you should be able to get a sense of what it is like. But also, do share with us what caught your eye in your neck of the woods. We were sharing that in the last hour. So share your thoughts with us on TikTok.
Well,
and that is
X as
at
well.
Channel Africa 1. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I suppose X as well.
X as well. YouTube, we are streaming also. You can see our faces now on our social media platforms at Channel Africa 1, like Nompumelelo mentioned on social media, and use the hashtag The Upside. We're about to get into conversation about another collaboration. Right? Vans, synonymous with skateboards, active. You wouldn't really outdoors. You wouldn't really associate it with a musician or an artist personally.
But personally. Okay. Because I was going to come and say no, but you can. It also depends. I mean, we're not speaking an opera singer.
Can you imagine an opera singer
or a gospel singer? You know what I mean?
Actually, that could work.
No.
That really could work.
No. I mean, unless you're speaking about what's his name? Who's got the biggest gospel song out now? Uyena yedwa, uyena.
I'm not going to pretend I know
All right.
gospel artists.
He's not a gospel artist ordinarily, that's the thing. Anyway, it's 10 minutes after 3 Central African time. While I try to jog my memory, get some music, and when we come back we're going to be speaking collaboration between Vans footwear as well as a rapper. And this collaboration, in fact, was launched here in South Africa. They had a performance.
Oh, exciting.
So we're going to get into that conversation when we come back. It's 10 minutes after 3 Central African time.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons accueillir sur ces plateaux de Mix Vibration un artiste pas comme les autres. Il est exceptionnel. Il se classe résolument dans la trajectoire des artistes qui défendent le patrimoine du folklore africain, mais aussi de la rumba. Ici, Jérémy Tchani.
En tout cas, je vous dis merci à la Channel Africa, à tout le monde qui nous suit. Dans la vie, si tu veux aller loin, il faut comprendre les temps. Il y a ceux-là qui étaient dans leur temps, mais à cause d'une mauvaise conduite, à cause des gens qui l'accompagnaient, à cause de sa famille, à cause beaucoup de choses, son temps passé.
Voilà, donc il faut toujours gérer le temps. Chaque chose a son temps, dit-on. Et la couronne ne dure pas éternellement, dit-on. Donc il faut toujours gérer le temps que Dieu vous a donné sur la terre. C'est le message que Jérémy Tchani nous amène aujourd'hui sur Mix Vibration à Channel Africa.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Africa in Song with Tebogo.
So the artist that I just played now went by the name A.B. Crystal. So A standing for Alfred, B for Benjamin. What's your take on people having two names? Is it because maybe you can't decide on a name?
I've heard people saying that they are named because of whatever that was happening around.
These are also seasonal. I'm sure now a baby born in the Eastern Cape is called Nomatarif.
You see now? Or it was a born baby when it was, what do you call these things we used to pay for men driving?
Noma Itol.
Noma Itol, listen.
Well, Noma Confident is leaving.
Africa in Song with Tebogo. No matter where you are, Channel Africa is always with you.
Quand tu es celui qui voit le dos de tout le monde, et tu demandes
after 3 Central African Time, and we're turning to all things slightly fashion, but I mean focusing on footwear, Tebogo Vans. Do you own a pair?
No.
Really?
No.
I'm genuinely surprised at that, by the way.
Why?
I think it would suit your aesthetic.
No,
really.
Okay.
You can see the sincerity in my face.
I can see it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's worth investing
there we
in a pair of Vans.
Hey, Vans, call me up, okay? I just gained you a sale.
Where's my commission?
Commission.
Listen, from music stages to fashion runways, the lines between culture and commerce are blurring, ushering in a new era of creative collaboration. One standout example is Vans recently introduced the next chapter in the premium old school music collection, spotlighting British-Nigerian rapper and actress Little Sims and Vans EMEA team rider Helena Long. Now, this rise of celebrity brand collaboration isn't just a trend, it's a strategic move reshaping how fashion connects with consumers. Brands are leveraging the creative influence of cultural icons to reach new markets and tell richer stories. We are joined on the line by Umar Muhammad, Vans Brand Communications Manager. Umar, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Let's talk about the inspiration and the decision to collaborate with Little Sims and Helena Long for this chapter of the premium old school music collection.
Yeah, so for Vans, collaboration in general is the approach is to partner with individuals that have a unique perspective of their craft and are unapologetic in that way. And by nature, the perspective is rebellious and we seek individuals that push culture forward. I mean, just looking at Helena, she's been a pioneer of the London skate scene for years, as you mentioned, on the Vans skate team. And Sims' approach to music goes completely against the norm of hip-hop today. Her lyrics are very introspective and based on consciousness. So it was a natural choice for the brand to amplify what they represent.
Umar, I've been wondering, just looking at Helena, but also your Vans brand and design, how do you think that this kind of campaign reflects your core identity?
Yeah, so as you know, Vans is first and foremost a skate brand, and it was born in the 60s, and specifically with the old school, it was the second skate shoe that was released. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and just the nature of the skate culture and what it represented at the time, it was sort of raw and had this rebellious authenticity, and I think it just resonated with a lot of creatives and musicians and in the early days. So it was a organic sort of identity that formed with Vans and music and creatives in general.
We are currently in conversation with Umar Muhammad, Vans Brand Communications Manager, about this exciting collaboration with Little Sims and Helena Long for their new premium old school music collection. We'll find out more about the shoe, how it looks like, and who is it intended for. This is The Upside.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Join Tebogo and Nompumelelo on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
It's 21 minutes past 3 p.m. Central African time. We're in conversation with Umar Mohammed, Van's brand communications manager, about the current collaboration with British Nigerian rapper and actress Little Sims, as well as Helena Long, for their premium old school music collection. Umar, let's talk about it's a 90s inspired shoe when we look at the detailing on it. The collection is inspired by 3 eras of music that shaped the old school. Can you talk about how those eras influence today's sound and style, please?
Yeah, so those eras of music were super strong, and they've naturally left a lasting mark on what we hear today, whether it's the beats that are produced or the lyrics and the visuals, and style-wise it's the same. I mean, we see oversized cuts that were worn back then, bold graphics like leopard print, and the way the artists laid textures with their clothing. And yeah, I guess this collection just sought to carry that DNA.
Uma, how do collaborations like these just elevate not just the brand, but also the artist as well?
Yeah, it's all about mutual respect. It's not just a case of handing an artist a shoe and getting told to wear it. As a brand, we invite them to express themselves through new mediums, inviting them to the fashion space. And it's not about limiting their voice or trying to curate the way that they communicate when they are brought into these collaborations. It's sort of leaning into what they represent. And it's to also give our audience something more meaningful than just a marketing campaign. I mean,
Umar,
I feel you find that...
Yeah. Please carry on.
I feel you find that brands sort of try and collaborate with artists and mold them into what they want to represent. But
exactly.
The opposite for us.
And that's when you find, audiences and consumers, your customers, aren't tone deaf, right? They know exactly who is the best fit for a brand, and then they can feel that insincerity of a collaboration when brands try to do that.
Yeah, I think consumers today are more brand aware than ever before. I mean, you see with influencer culture and everything, it's people see right through it. So the goal is to remain authentic.
Love that. And Umar, let's talk about the old school silhouette and how it's evolved into more than just a skate shoe, becoming an actual, a staple in pop culture and streetwear.
Yeah, so Vans has sort of never chased trends. The goal from the beginning is to stay close to communities as much as possible, and identify communities that are pushing to move culture forward and support in that way, and showing up authentically and supporting emerging scenes. So, yeah, Vans has always set out to create a platform for expression, like our House of Vans platform that we hosted last year in Johannesburg. And it's about openness and transparency, and that's what builds lasting trust. And consumers will come on that journey with you.
Umar, any more activations coming up to promote this line?
No, not in the near future. I mean, all the activations for this shoe specifically have been done already, but we have got some plans coming up for the year. But yeah, can't speak too much about it right now.
All right, more collaborations.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
yes,
we're
more
certainly
collaborations
hoping,
and more collaborations coming to South Africa. I think
nice.
You know, we've been holding back, so yeah.
I was actually going to ask Umar that are we going to have more African representations, more artists from the African continent adorning the Vans logo, and as opposed to just having the international? So is that in the pipelines? You mentioned South Africa, so are we seeing more Africans also, not just in South Africa, who will be collaborating with you later on, perhaps during the year?
That's the goal. I think the maybe not collaborations per se this year, but just there's definitely a move to establish closer connections to communities in Africa. And I guess that's where the collaboration starts. It always starts with connecting to those communities and seeing how best we can sort of represent them. And then once we sort of establish how we can represent them, then that's when the collaborations come.
On a personal note, Umar, how many pairs of Vans do you own?
Ooh, this is a bit of a touchy one. More than I'd care to admit, to be honest.
All right. Umar, thank you so much. Yeah?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for your time. That is Vans brand manager, and his name is Umar Mohammed, talking to us about that collaboration with the musicians and not athletes, as you would much prefer. Hey, Tebogo.
You said earlier there was a sport or an activity that you said you can't see them collaborating with.
Musicians.
Well, it wasn't musicians. Oh yeah, opera singers and gospel singers.
I said Vans, though, in particular. Vans.
Okay, all right.
You know, because let me
fine.
tell you why. Opera singers have to be in costumes for their characters, right?
Yes.
And gospel singers, probably, I mean, I was thinking more female gospel singers as well, but I suppose they could, because, yeah, gospel singers are becoming hipper now. Hip and happening.
Are they?
Mm.
No, okay. I didn't.
No? When you don't listen to gospel music, you're clearly not gospel. You're not the target market.
I'm not the target market. No.
Okay, all right.
There are certain sports that I think it sort of doesn't come together.
Mm.
Chess.
And Vans.
Do you think that would work?
Yeah. Look, it's all about the story. It's all about the story. Imagine a chess player from out in the Cape Flats.
Okay, you went very specific.
You know what I mean?
All right, I get you.
Yeah, that would be a compelling one. If I were a marketer, man, I'd love to jump on that kind of campaign.
You've just given Umar an idea.
Umar owes me a lot. Not only have I managed to convert you to potentially get a pair,
of course,
but now I've said go find those unique stories and people, ordinary but like spectacular. You know what I mean? In their pursuits.
I love that. Listen, sticking to the topic of sport, let's find out what's the latest in sport.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We begin with athletics. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, has unveiled a formidable squad for the 2025 World Athletics Relay scheduled to take place in Guangzhou in China, as the country intensifies preparations to secure early qualification spots for the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. The AFN confirmed that the nation will field teams in 4 of the 6 relay categories at the event: the men's 4x100 meters, women's 4x100 meters, mixed 4x100 meters, and mixed 4x400 meters. Heading into the competition with a blend of seasoned stars and emerging talents, the Nigerian squad boasts some of the country's most recognized names in global athletics. Among them are the world record holder in the 100-meter hurdles, Toby Amusan, American collegiate sprint sensation Favor Ashe, and former under-20 world championship Udodi Ozurike. Amusan and Favor Ofili are also expected to provide critical experience and leadership in the women's and mixed 4x100 meters relays. Football news: former Bafana Bafana captain Lucas Radebe believes both Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns will win the second legs of the CAF Champions League semi-finals on Friday in Egypt and reach the final of the Africa's elite club football competition. Radebe, who played football at the highest level and was captain of English Premiership side Leeds United, says both teams have a better chance of winning in Cairo against Al Ahly and Pyramids FC.
I think for me they stand a good chance, of getting to the final because of the pressure that the other teams has, and if they can use that and the players believing in themselves, but they've got nothing to lose. They've achieved well to get to thus far and to take those both teams to Egypt, with a clean sheet. As long as they know themselves, they believe in themselves, surely they will come back, victorious.
The two South African teams have relatively done well in the competition, especially Pirates beating Al Ahly, CR Belouizdad and MC Alger away. Downs have done well over Al Ahly in recent years and will want to continue their dominance over the Egyptian club. Radebe says both South African teams can reach the final, which will be great for the country.
Take advantage of that and try and at least one of the teams can get to the final, or both of them. You never know. I mean the boys, I know they're very confident. Sundowns has been there before. They know what needs to happen in order to get to the finals and to lift that trophy. They know what's needed. And Orlando Pirates, I think they need a second star, on the jersey. And I believe that the boys believe in themselves, that they can go out there and cause a big upset.
On to hockey news. Both Namibia's men and women's under-21 hockey teams are currently second on the log at the Junior Africa Cup in Windhoek and will well placed to qualify for the Junior World Cup later this year. The top 3 men and women's teams will qualify for the 2025 Junior World Cup, with the men to play in Chennai and Madurai, India in November, while the women will compete in Santiago, Chile in December. In the men's category, South Africa are the hot favorites to win the Africa title after winning their opening 4 matches in style, scoring 32 goals and conceding only 4. Now, rugby news. The Hollywood Bets Sharks achieved the first part of the Vodacom United Rugby Championships tour objective when they scraped through a narrow win over Edinburgh. But their job is only half done and they face an arguably tougher obstacle in their final game. Saturday's evening clash with Ulster at the Kingspan Stadium in Ravenshill will be the Sharks' last away game of the league's phase of the URC season. After this, they face Scarlets and Ospreys at Hollywood Bets Kings Park, which they have started to rebuild into a fortress during an otherwise inconsistent season from a performance viewpoint, despite the obvious progress reflected by them being 4th on the log in comparison to the second last place they finished with last season. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwena@sabc.co.za. That's MOKOENATA at SABC.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
The Upside, live and real.
Live and real, we are broadcasting from the Ford SEO and Technical Training Center in Silverton, Pretoria, for a collaboration of note
Of note.
for this year's 2025 Rally Raid Championship in South Africa. For now, though, let's hear what's happening in business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. I'm Nosipho Zuma. In your business news this hour, the Good Party leader in South Africa, Patricia de Lille, has criticized the Democratic Alliance for misleading the public by claiming victory for the reversal of the 0.5% value-added tax increase. This follows an announcement by the Finance Ministry that the 0.5 percentage point VAT increase rescinded. On a Tuesday, both the DA and the Economic Freedom Fighters went to court in a bid to have the fiscal framework on VAT set aside. De Lille says that the credit must go to parties that participated in the intense discussions.
Some misguided reporter this morning said that South Africa must thank the Blue Party for going to court and stopping that. We must get the independence of the Fourth Estate to be respected. Certainly people are entitled to their opinions, but they're not entitled to their own facts. Because the fact is, what we are witnessing here today is a budget victory through principled negotiations and political maturity. And so we must make an appeal that we keep that balance, because the truth will always survive.
De Lille has cautioned the DA to refrain from discrediting the government's performance.
Even in terms of the performance of the government of national unity, we see reports as if some of these things by achievement by some of these ministers is new, when in fact, go and check the facts, you will see that ministers before that started these processes. And it was not just because some new minister come in from the GNU. The lies must stop.
Tanzania has officially imposed a trade ban on food and agricultural products from Malawi, intensifying a diplomatic and economic standoff that began with trade restrictions on Tanzanian produce by the two nations. A similar ban has also been imposed on any agricultural produce from South Africa into the Tanzanian market. Tanzania's Minister of Agriculture, Hussein Bashe, announced the decision on Wednesday. This after both countries failed to lift their embargoes on Tanzanian goods, like a consignment of bananas that was recently blocked at the borders. Malawi's Trade Ministry spokesperson, Patrick Botha.
So as a ministry and as the government of Malawi, we haven't received any official communication from the government of the Republic of Tanzania. However, we are following the developments and we will make a comment at the appropriate time.
Traders say Kenya's shilling has lost some ground against the dollar amid a muted foreign exchange appetite after bouncing high yesterday as offshore investors sought domestic bonds. Commercial banks quoted the shilling at 129.10 to 129.60 per dollar, compared with Wednesday closing rate of 128.90 to 129.40. In neighboring Uganda, the shilling has held its levels against the dollar, supported by hard currency inflows from aid agencies. Commercial banks have quoted the shilling at 3,660.3 to 670, compared to yesterday's close of 3,662.3,672. And finally, a global watchdog has warned that the risk facing the world's energy supplies have increased. The head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol, will join the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the head of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, for a conference on energy security. The BBC's Justin Rowlett has the details.
The wars in Europe and the Middle East, the world's increasingly extreme weather, the policies of Donald Trump and the attacks on undersea cables all threaten energy supplies, says the head of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol. He warns the risks have risen significantly in recent years. Mr. Birol says countries should diversify their energy supplies. Instead, they are becoming more confrontational and increasingly reliant on fewer sources of energy, he says.
Your financial indicators: $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 607. In Botswana is 13.59. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shillings 65, and in Zambia it's 28 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rubles 71. Russia is 82 rubles 51. India is 85 rupees 40. China at 7 yuan 29, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 18 rand 59. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,338 and platinum at $974 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $66.57 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. This is The Upside for the best African vibes, groundbreaking content. side, where optimism meets opportunity.
I've been there so far, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. I see courage, enjoyment, you talk say it a kilo. Under fire, the person where they be for. Suffer no they tire you. Hunger no they wire you. It be like country no they hammer you. Shake no they shake you. Shake it up for over. If you want know the coco, it go make you the loco. Plenty blessings, plenty they follow. Sure you think say I no be today. I remember Sakpa used me they play. I've been this so far, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. I see courage, enjoyment, you don't say it a kilo. Under fire, the person where they be for. I've been this so far, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. I see courage, enjoyment, you talk say it a kilo. Under fire, the person where they be for. Away. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Away. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me. All your friends go gather you. Grace and blessings cover you. You see this life, make money, chop money, enjoy yourself. Problems don't they finish you. If you want know the coco, it go make you the loco. Plenty blessings, plenty they follow. Sure you think say I don't be today. I remember Sakpa used me they play. I've been this so far, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. I see courage, enjoyment, you talk say it a kilo. Under fire, the person where they be for. I've been there so far, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. I see courage, enjoyment, you talk say it a kilo. Under fire, the person where they be for.
It is a rude boy there with enjoyment. And just before that one, the Muffins with Umsebenzi Wendoda. Doesn't that song just bring you to tears?
Just listen to the title.
Oh, yes.
Just listen to that title.
The title alone brings you to tears. Really? Oh, I wouldn't have gone. Tell me why?
Men are hard at work. That brings a lot
Everybody
of tears
to tears.
our faces.
Everyone is hard at work for their money. But Umsebenzi Wendoda is just such a... I just think about hardship when I hear that song. And just like the pain of being away from your family as a hardworking individual. Because you're grinding, and the loneliness that comes with, it's just, the Muffins really, really did a thing with that song. If you think about mine workers, that's what it makes me think of.
Mine workers, those who you're working on at a site somewhere.
Building site,
construction, they are oftentimes, and also the living conditions are always dreadful.
Because some live on site.
Live on site. They have to share.
Just to cut costs, right,
yeah.
of travel.
Yeah. And that's not an ideal space to be in. So respect for those hardworking men and women out there who are away from their families for hours and hours and days and weeks on end to give them the lives that they wish to have.
And speaking about hard work and being away from your families to work, it does get me thinking about the next show, the show that is Ngubeni is going to be speaking all things business. No doubt she will be touching on the decision by Treasury, the South African Treasury, not to implement that 0.5%, or rather to retract it, right? Because it was going to be effective from the 1st of May. So keen to hear her perspective on the whole issue and what else she has on the menu for today's show. In the meantime, let us know what you thought of today's show. Broadcasting out from Ford's Service Engineering Operations and Technical Training Center. And this is a collaboration with Neil Woolridge Motorsport. And we are out in Pretoria today. We are going to be back in studio in Johannesburg, South Africa. I see the clouds are gathering now. It seems that we might experience some rain driving back to Johannesburg. But everybody be safe out on the roads if you are driving, because the roads are going to be wet and slippery. So maintain a healthy and safe following distance. I understand that we do have Tammy Ngubeni in studio. Tammy, hi.
Hello. So you left us all by our lonesome today. I see you are making waves in Pretoria.
Just for today, Tammy, we are certainly going to be back in studio with you tomorrow. Okay, so
lovely.
Just this afternoon. What's coming up? What's coming up on the show?
Ooh, it's been a busy day. It's been a busy news day.
From midnight.
From midnight. It took us back to the Zuma days when all the major changes and the cabinet and the cabinet reshuffles would happen in the wee hours of the morning. You wake up the next day and it's a completely different country.
It's a completely new cabinet.
Cabinet. Well, here's what's happening today in South Africa. As everybody may have heard and has known by now, the VAT hike, the proposed VAT hike of 0.5 percentage points, which was due to kick off on Thursday, which is the 1st of May, is no longer taking place. The Minister of Finance in South Africa, Enoch Godongwana, has taken an about turn and withdrawn that. And there are accusations flying around. Now he has been accused of lying to members of parliament in order to get them to agree to that VAT increase. And there are calls as well for him to resign. But here's our focus today and this afternoon. This increasing of the VAT and not increasing it in this particular instance is now going to cost the country $4 billion over the next 3 years. We'll be unpacking this as we look at the economic impact of this all. It is an economic decision, but also very much a political decision, as we have seen with the political cards playing out. We'll also take a look at what's happening in Ethiopia this afternoon, a look at the Ethiopian markets. The Ethiopian Finance Ministry has anticipated spending less on debt service. This follows the country's recent debt restructuring agreement. So we'll focus on the markets in Ethiopia this afternoon and also on Tanzania and their decision made by the Minister of Agriculture that the Tanzanian government is now going to be banning the importation of all agricultural produce from South Africa and Malawi. We'll find out the reasons why and what the implications of this would be.
That's interesting.
It certainly is. It really speaks around issues of trade imbalances, but we'll delve deeper into this later on this afternoon.
You know, Tammy, you mentioned that just going back to the VAT increase U-turn decision by Treasury, that it is both an economic and political decision. And I didn't realize that there were allegations around Godondwana having lied. But I do think that it's important for the EFF and DA to go ahead with that court case, just to establish what is within the ambit of powers and responsibilities of the finance minister, right? Because there, in Section 24, I believe, of the VAT Act, they are arguing that had it not been for a multi-party government, he would have unilaterally made that decision for a VAT increase without any kind of interference. And that is dangerous because if the finance minister has those kind of powers bestowed upon him by the Constitution, that is something that needs to be looked at. So from a political perspective, that is something worthwhile challenging.
And what's important here is, for the first time in a long while, parliamentary oversight once again comes under the spotlight. Because you'll remember that this budget was only approved because the likes of Action SA said, we'll approve this budget, but it's contingent on other alternatives being found as opposed to a VAT increase. And so perhaps the allegations of lying are around that. With some parliamentarians saying you duped us, in the sense that you had no intention of withdrawing this VAT, but you got us
it's
to pass this
incumbent on
budget.
the Action SAs. No, Action SA and all the other parties who were reportedly duped are also showing incompetency in understanding, number one, the Constitution and what is within the minister's rights, but also just try to be creative. Perhaps heed the commissioner, SARS commissioner's call to be resourced in order to collect more revenue through taxes, right? So, there are other things, there are other ways.
From here, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it's politics, and politics were played. And maybe next time, don't take things at face value. Don't have gentlemen's agreements. And, stick to the letter of the law. If it is 100% ratified, then indeed sign it off, but if it is not, then take it back. So may that be a lesson learned. But look, we're going to have to leave it at that for this afternoon. We can go on,
unfortunately,
for the longest of times, but I look forward to having you back in the studio again tomorrow.
You guys
have a great one.
You. Wonderful. You have a great one too.
Thank you. It's gone exactly 4 p.m. Central African time. Let's head over to the news desk for the latest news with Dwalane Tulengwape, followed on by Fikile Lingwati, who will bring you the latest sporting headlines. It's 4 p.m.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tammy. Top stories: Asawa militants killed in fighting in Somalia, and South Africa's president confirms a phone call with the US president. Good afternoon. Officials in Somalia say 40 militants have been killed as Al-Shabaab fighters have battled Somali troops and allied forces for control of a strategic army base in central Somalia. This comes as the Al-Qaeda-linked militants tried to extend recent gains in the region, capturing the base in Wagadi town in the Middle Shabelle region, which houses soldiers, special forces and clan fighters, would enable Al-Shabaab to sever an important trunk road between the capital Mogadishu and Galmudug state. Benin's government has admitted that 54 soldiers were killed by suspected jihadists in the country's north last week near the borders with Burkina Faso and Niger. The authorities had previously said that only 8 soldiers were killed. The revised figure makes it the deadliest known attack since insurgents began operating in northern Benin at the beginning of the decade. The attack has been claimed by an Al-Qaeda-linked group, Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, or Janim, which is based in Mali but has in recent years expanded its operations to neighbouring countries. Some political parties in South Africa